Heavenly Father, help us to make the right decisions for the people of Alcona County. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Roll call, please.
Small.
Here.
Brady.
Here.
Brumman. Present. Johnson.
Here.
Yax is absent.
Make motion to approve the minutes from March 15th, 2023 regular meeting. Moved and supported. Any comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Public comment, limited to 3 minutes per person. Please identify yourself. Bill.
Bill Thompson, Harrisville Township. You had me on the Thunder Bay Transit Committee, and that's their audit and the overview of it and most recent report from the general manager that they got there. They're gonna work towards getting more stuff to Alcona County. And just when the county cleanup is running along, we got the fires going out now. And things are moving forward. And I think there's more flyers around.
That was easy. Yep. Yes, sir.
Leroy Perrin, Harrisville, and with ACCWA. I'd like to just take a moment to introduce our new executive director to the board, Denise Tropa. Just thought you should be introduced.
Thank you.
Hello, it's an honor. Thank you.
Next up. Public comment. Sure. Yes, sir.
Hey, good afternoon, Jeff Linderman. I reside in Iasco County. However, my commitment to this county is that I am president of the Alcona Iasco Cedar Lake Association. So we do share both counties in the lake. I just want to introduce myself, tell you who I am. I submitted a request to get on the agenda for your next meeting. I'll be providing some information today to the board for review. Hopefully on the agenda in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else public comment here? Sir, Linderman, you said?
Yes, Jeff
Okay, thank you.
Linderman. I reside in the township of Oscoda.
Over here, anybody online? No, oh, there's Dave right there. He's dropping. That's funny. Okay, then moving on, we'll go to presentation. Mr. Summers, please.
I emailed you my equalization report. Hopefully you all had a chance to look at it, or nobody came with questions, so obviously you understood everything. The county assessed value went up 16%. The assessed value went up 16%. The further you go north, it went up, and Alpena Mountain Renzi 14%. Presque Isle went up 13%. So that's the trend. It's always been like that. About the 3 hour from Detroit or wherever, somewhere in that area. Excuse me, it's a little bit higher, but the further you go north, it drops down the assessed values. Taxable went up about 6% from last year to this year. That's uncapping, transfers, ownership and stuff like that. Ag went up. This is just a breakdown of the classes. Ag went up about 12%, commercial 13%, industrial 18%, residential went 17%, and personal property went up just about 6%. So that's it. I mean, a lot of sales have been going on. We're gonna start doing our field work and start for the next year again, starting over. So this will be online, the equalization. I'm gonna have our IT guy put the equalization report online, land values, ECF will all be under equalization. Hopefully that's where he's gonna put it, but once I get it signed and approved on that, I'll have him put it online. So if anybody wants to look at our equalization report, there's a breakdown of the classes and all that stuff, and what it raised and all that.
Iasco County. Do you know the percentage by?
No, I'm not, since I don't talk to their director a whole lot. I just talk to the ones kind of north. But I don't, yeah, they don't call me too much. We just never have had a great communication with each other there, because it's a company that is the director there or somebody that signs roll. Counties that they sign rolls for, so.
Okay.
Any questions or anything, be free to come in my office and ask away.
Okay, thanks. Remy in business, we'll make a motion,
Yeah, you guys.
motion to sign. The equalization report.
Set the agenda. Can I look at it?
Okay, next up presentation, Scott Stevenson.
Thank you. I have a couple of things to keep you updated on and a couple of agreements for you to look at. It's kind of a busy winter, so I've been working on a lot of the rec grants that are coming up for this summer. Looks like they're coming in well, and a couple of them higher than usual, which is kind of nice, as long as I can keep staffing levels to do it. But it looks like the grants are coming in pretty good. Two of the agreements I've got here for you to look at today, one is the school resource officer program, and what that is they got a grant and they need an officer to do it. And so I've worked up an agreement with them on that. It's kind of the model agreement that the state provided to them with my twists and turns on it. And the other is an agreement with the city of Harrisville. There's nothing really drastically changing about that, other than we used to contract for about $6,000 worth of time, and that I think I said the township, I meant the city. We charged them for way over that last year with almost $18,000, and that was by verbal agreement with me and the mayor. They've got money to spend on law enforcement here, so we're doing it. So we upped the agreement. The big change in the agreement from the previous year's agreements was that it was $6,000 then, $20,000 now. So we'll keep it around that level, give or take. I think we went over a little bit. They went fine. They have money to spend on law enforcement from various projects that they have going on here in the city. And it has to be spent on law enforcement, so they're doing it that way. And we're charging for it. So that's working out pretty well with us. And we've got new AEDs in the cars through emergency management. They got us new AEDs. They did the training. Scott Rice came over, did the training a couple weeks ago, and we've already got one saved. The gentleman is still doing well. He's out in Saginaw in the hospital, but he's doing well. And he was not looking good when I got there that day. But one of our deputies at the EMT shocked him with our AED, and he's still with us. So that went well. We're still going forward on the dash cam program. I've got almost all the money approved through the grant. So I'm getting more and more off of the grant from Homeland Security and less that we talk from the ARPA committee. So that's shaking out real well, and we're going to be going forward on that real soon. Similarly, I have a drone program going. I sent a couple of guys to a pilot's class. They got certified as pilots to fly these drones around. And with the class, they got a small entry-level drone that they can use, and we've been using them on a few complaints. Most notably a fire up in Black River last year, where we got up above the fire, we could tell the DNR which direction it was heading. So they're coming in real handy on scene investigations and scene photography and everything like that. We're applying through the federal government for a grant to get a bigger drone that has thermals and everything like that for search and rescue. They're pretty hard to get, being pretty strict on the rules and everything with that, and they have to be American made. They can't be Chinese made for reasons that FEMA has. But everybody around me says they tried and can't get them. I think we're real close. I think as far as our grant writing and everything's going with Homeland Security, I think we're going to get that. So we may be still a year or so out from getting that drone. I think it was, do you remember, Terry, maybe $18,000, somewhere in that price range.
Well, that kind of drone, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty sophisticated. And again, it's a higher price unit because it's American made compared to the Chinese made version is quite a bit cheaper, but obviously not formidable.
I think your big thing too is the all weather abilities that you will have.
Right.
That typical drone does not have.
Right. And so I think I was in a month or so ago, and we had an active shooter up in Black River Spruce area. We didn't fly our drone. We had it. My policies were not quite approved yet, so we held off on flying it, and the weather wasn't great that day either. But when the mutual aid team came in, the weather calmed down a little bit, they did fly their drone, and that helped out quite a bit on that scene. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see how that goes, but it's just technology, and it's kind of a neat thing. I had a couple of guys that did a lot of work on their own to get these pilot licenses, and they talked to Commissioner Small about it a little bit, because I think he's involved in that same type of program for his private business, but I think it can be pretty beneficial. But yeah, it's no Chinese drones allowed under grants, understandably. Recently got a guy through initial accident investigation school. Nobody's been an accident investigator here for quite a few years, since I was doing it actively. 2 or 3 days after he graduated the class, he got a fatal crash out on M65 and M72. So, and it was a tough one. It wasn't easy. He was out there with vinyl tape measures in the wind, measuring the scene, and he's a go-getter, and I was proud of him. So. I'm working with dispatch and EMS on some vehicle locator systems. We're pretty initial into that, but the idea behind that is that my cars and the ambulances will have a locator, and dispatch can know where they're at. And it's not really a big brother thing to watch and see what they're doing. It's more of if they go down or get hurt, or a few years ago, we had a very serious car deer crash where the deputy had hit several deer, rolled over in the ditch. That happens in the middle of the night. We don't know where they're at. We could be a long time finding them, and that's just not acceptable anymore. So I don't know why these companies want to charge so dang much, because everybody's got locators on their phone through Snapchat or Find a Friend or whatever. We can find everybody, but these people are in the racket of making business, so they're wanting a bunch of money to do that. We also got some CO monitors to put in the cars, and this has come in very, very often, where we have carbon monoxide poisoning, but it does come up from time to time. I almost carbon monoxide myself in my garage the other day. I didn't realize that you start up your car in the garage with the door open, it still builds up levels in your garage. So I was up to 45 parts per million. And before I got foggy headed, I pulled out my book and found out that I was still okay at that level, but it doesn't, it builds up in there. A few years ago, Ford Motor Company had Ford Explorers, police interceptors that were having all kinds of carbon monoxide issues. We had one. And they couldn't figure the dang thing out. We bought an over-the-counter carbon monoxide detector to keep an eye on the level so the guys weren't getting sick at night. But it has been an issue. Now, all these Fords we have now are not having issues at all with it. But they're in there for scenes, not so much for the cars. All right, to the 2 grants that we got, or not grants that we got to talk about, but the agreements. The one is the SRO agreement, and that's attached to a grant that the school got. So it's not a grant that I applied for. It's not a grant that I'm going to administer. They're administering all that out there. But what we had to have is a memorandum of understanding in place with them. I think I can abide by it, and we're going to try to abide by it. And if we don't, if we're not able to, then I guess they're just going to have to give that money back. But the apprehension I've shared with some of you is that they demand 100% participation with the school resource officer. And as you know, there's been times where I've had to pull that resource officer temporarily to work the road patrol. On a day-to-day basis, that's not a problem with the agreement, but if I have to pull them for a couple of weeks or a month or something like that, they may lose that. They may lose that grant funding. We'll just have to deal with that when we get to it. Right now, my staffing levels are going to accommodate it, so that's what we're going to do. And bottom line is, either way, I'm going to want somebody in the school, and I think we're in agreement that there needs to be somebody in the school. And this agreement gets payment out of the school, 2 forms, one in the form of the grant, and the other form is whatever the school district's paying. So it ends up being a 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 split, grant, school, county. Not perfect, but I think it's way better than we've been doing. So I can't complain about that. And I gave you a draft copy of that to go over, I think. And the other one is a Harrisville City grant, same that I mentioned that already, or not city grant, it's an agreement with them. For up to $20,000 worth of service for the year. Those are the 2 agreements I'm going to need you guys to look over, and if you agree to sign them, that's great. If not, we can talk about them some more. The other thing we need to talk about at some point, and I'm just kind of getting this conversation started today, is animal control. The law requires that this board appoint a department in the county to be animal control. I assume that sometime years before I was working here, that my office was made that by ordinance. Maybe we could research that somewhere, but I think that that was made somewhere. Anyways, it's been passed on. That may need to be renewed or revisited. And there's some other things in there that we need to look at as far as accommodations. We have an agreement, this board has an agreement way back when Kevin Boyd was the chair that was signed with the Alcona Humane Society to house animals there. It works out pretty well, but it's been overcrowded and quite often we're not able to take cats there. Not such a huge deal, but lately we haven't been able to take dogs there. And so I think we're gonna have to start talking about some overflow agreements other places or something like that. The deal, the bottom line is if I'm in charge of animal control in the county, I can't be telling everybody, I can take your cats and dogs, but I can't take yours because I just filled up yesterday. We gotta have some overflow or some other type of an agreement. Just want to get that conversation started a little bit, so. How are we doing on questions or anything like that for any of the programs I've talked about, or?
So the only thing that you see in the MRO for the school is just that sometimes when I pull an officer, you don't wanna.
So if I gotta pull them off for an emergency, that's absolutely no problem at all.
Yeah.
I think I read the grant a lot differently than whoever's administering it at the school does.
Yeah.
To me, it sure reads that it's 100% commitment during the school year and not during the school year. Although we can reassign them somewhere else during the summertime when there's no school, they have to be available. And not just anybody in particular, the school resource officer has to be available to handle complaints involving the school, whether it's a trespass issue or a disorderly at a sporting event or something like that. The way I read it is they need to be paying 100% of the year. I don't think they read it that way. I am comfortable just billing them for the time that we're there. I'm not really interested in bickering about what it means or doesn't mean, but I think in the end, the school's gonna find out that I'm right. But maybe not. So there's no reason to really bicker about it. We'll get the agreement in place. It agrees to pay for when he's there and whatever training he does. It's better than nothing. It's better than the alternative right now. Great.
My question, Scott, if they approve this at today's meeting for the school resource officer, all I have is a draft.
I have copies that don't say draft on it or signatures.
Okay.
And I don't have any signature on the school grant or the school agreement, but I do have one from the mayor on the city agreement. So I do have those started already, and they don't, mine don't say draft on them. They're clean copies for signature. So
Okay.
all of those with you with that.
The one's good to go, but the city one, I printed off.
Okay, good.
That one's good, yeah.
Well, and we can approve that and sign it after the school.
Yeah.
You can sign it too.
Yep.
So.
Tom look at this thing. Did Tom look at all this?
The last time I did the city one, he did. He has not looked at the school one. But the city one, the wording has not changed other than the dollar amounts, yeah.
Always been sort of what we do, ratifying him on all our agreements.
Yep, no problem. All set?
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Jennifer.
Hello. So Tammy Ranger, she's been an employee for Alcona County for the last 27 years. She has submitted her intent to retire. And that will come effective May 26th. She let us know early last year, so I was able to anticipate that in the budget. It was an estimate. We're going to find out. I'm not asking for any money today. So, but what's come up is she has put in, and surprisingly she's eligible for this, but she has put in her request for Social Security and her MERS and all that. And I contacted personnel first, and actually Commissioner Small and I spoke, and what she's asking for, and I guess this is a little unprecedented, but I think it's been done once maybe in the past ever, but the way the payroll falls, if she can't collect her Social Security until August, if she has not gotten her final pay by June 1. And her last day with us is May 26th. So what I'm coming and asking the board to do today is allowing a special payroll for that week in between. I spoke to the clerk's office. They have indicated stuff obviously here that this is not a difficult issue for them, just that the authority comes from the commissioners to say that it's okay to do it. If they can, they will, but it just, you have to say it's okay. So what we're asking basically is that Tammy's last day is the 26th, that's a Friday. That is and she would need her pay to be done by June 1, and payroll would not begin until June 2nd, which would make her not eligible for her Social Security for 2 months. So what we're asking is for a special payroll. And if you get really strange questions, I can answer those. But
It's basically one day.
it would be also her payout, and I think it's part of the issue is her payout. So that would be included in that.
Okay. All right. And that's in May.
It'd be the end of it.
We don't have to go on it today.
Unless you need to come back, I just wanna, I don't know.
I
when-
just want to be clear, there's no, I don't want to talk about it. I don't think we should. I don't know if there's any policies or anything we have to look at,
Okay,
make sure we're not cross lines here.
okay. So should I come back another time or
No, let's come back another time, we'll just look
just
at.
let me know?
I mean, yeah, we'll put it on the agenda for the first meeting of
May.
May.
Okay.
By that time, we should have a full report from the clerk's office,
Okay.
if everything could violate it. I just, every time we jump the gun, I get,
I understand. I appreciate your
I find
consideration.
out a week later, oh, well, you can't do that.
Okay.
Been beat before.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. All right, moving on to new business. There we go. Make a motion to approve pre-authorized claims and open claims presented for payment between 3/15/2023 and 4/4/2023 for check numbers 150-214 to 150-427 and e-check numbers 2074 to 2093 for a grand total of $1,629,160.10.
Second.
Move to seconded. Any discussion? Must be paying out some local taxes and stuff, eh?
All the settlements got paid,
Yeah,
just over 1.4 million.
good heavens. Cool. Roll call.
Johnston.
Yes.
Brumman. Yes. Brady.
Yes.
Small.
Yes. Okay. Next up, opioid resolution. Carolyn, if you would.
Well, you've all got a copy of the resolution, I'm sure you reviewed it. It's a mandatory, resolution that everybody that signed on to, the, opioid project will be signing that. Have any questions on that, or? It is not a direct it's, yes, Alcona County needs to sign it, but it is not directly relevant as to how we proceed locally.
Okay.
I would move that we approve the resolution and it's 23-11.
08.
08. Thank you. And authorize the chair to sign.
I'll second. Give off the top of your head figure.
You can get back. Yep. Was in the packet.
Yeah. It's in there.
On the resolution?
Oh, the amount? No.
Here it is, here it is.
I got the resolution. I didn't see the amount.
I want to say it's an additional $168,000.
In addition to the, what was it, 50 before, or 50 something before?
55, but it's continually changing.
Oh, I see.
Well, not daily, but
So this is in replacement of the 50 or
In addition,
in addition?
this is 4 more pharmaceuticals, Teva, Allergen, CVS, Walgreens, and Walmart.
Okay, any other comments, questions?
And this will fit right in with our current group committee that's already administering all this.
this is it going to dribble in for the next 15 years.
Yep.
You have to remember that.
15 years? I'll probably be on opioids if I'm here. 15. Yeah, I'll need some of the money.
Hey, are you making resolution? We should probably do a roll call.
Small,
Yes.
Johnston,
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Brumman,
Yes,
Next one, Carolyn, opioid committee request.
you come to Bill?
Nope.
I emailed this to you ladies, so. First of all, I want to really thank you for allowing Bill to continue to serve on this committee. He is an asset. And I really appreciate it being there. We have been meeting, the first contact with the public of anybody was back in August through a newspaper article, and then it is just progressed. We've had about 6 or 8 meetings. We did have one yesterday afternoon. What we want to do is to advise you of where we are. Prior to any action today, the amount in the fund 284 was approximately $55,000. As I indicated, that it was originally scheduled to come in over 15 years. So the last payment would have been in 2040. But in the meantime, these that you approved today, those are being stretched over a different period of years. Also, in some cases, some of the those dispensing that are being sued, some of those are being allowed to pay early. Others are paying with interest, while some of them are being allowed to pay early. I can't remember off the top of my head. Somebody paid the first 5 years. Well, so that altered how we got our money, or the amount that we got. And so this is going to be fluctuating close through to 2040, I believe. And originally, as you saw in all the documents that you got, we were going to be at approximately $286,000. Now, these new payments are nowhere near what approaching that original losses payment. Have to remember, this is the earnings off of, or not the earnings, but the payment off of a lawsuit, not a grant. There certainly are similarities, but there's also a lot of differences. Early on, Bill and I took the position, and we shared this with the other people that are on that committee, that are coming to the meetings. We really thought we didn't want to do everything all at once, because we don't have all the information. There's so much that's going on. So we kind of said, let's not spend more than 50% of what we get at the beginning. We also thought that was going to be close to a 30,000 figure rather than a 55,000 figure. So at this time, we would like to informally ask your blessings on 2 projects that we want to activate. The first one, they are limited drug court, which is been very productive for Alcona County. Drug court is struggling to get assessments on their participants done in a timely manner, because Council of Human Services doesn't have that many people on staff to do them that quickly for us. But there is another firm that does them. It's the belief of those people within the drug court system that they do a better one. And so we are anticipating spending some of our money, possibly the first year, in the $16,000 to $18,000 range. I realize we're only technically talking about half, but that would be a full year. That will allow us to get this particular firm charges $450 for an assessment. of an individual. That will allow us to move people more quickly into drug court, and which is beneficial all the way around. The other thing that we do want to put in place at this time, we have two primary areas, primary locations that handle those who are going into residential drug services. One is Sunrise out of Alpena, the other one is Mid-Michigan, which is out of the Bay City area, general area. It is common, or certainly not uncommon, their payments sometimes are through, to go and get treatment. Sometimes it's through Medicare, Medicaid, but also through insurance companies. They may be provided, we'll say through memory for 20 days of treatment. But 20 days isn't really quite enough for some of them. Some of them need 25 days or whatever. And it is not uncommon for someone doing the treatment to say, I could only have them 5 more days or 3 more days or whatever. And some of those people are Alcona folks. And what we are proposing, or what we plan on doing, is having a scholarship. So if their counselor says, I really need to have this person for 3 more days, maybe they've got it. I think, but a couple more days would be beneficial to them. We would be providing the scholarship money, and that would then allow them to stay the extra few days. We also have people who are self-paid and they run out of money. They think they can go in and say, get their recovery started in 20 days. And guess what? It's not quite as good as it. Through no one's fault, it's just the way the system is. And so those are the two things at this time that we are going to move forward on. Now, in addition to those two, we're looking at a project that would be a presentation by a medical individual, regionally done. It would be done hopefully in Alcona County, but we're not positive about that. And it would be medical people invited from West Branch Hospital, from the hospital in Tawas, Alpena, and those doctors who are either for a health center or have their own clinic. It would be probably, we're looking at a Saturday type of thing. Now, a couple things. One, the ability to get this particular man that the judge knows and says is wonderful. I would not be able to judge that. I don't know. But that's going to be our biggest thing. Our second one is a place to hold it. We're thinking maybe Lost Lake. They have done some things before with large groups, and we'll see. Another is the ability to access naloxone. There's some pros and some cons on it, and if it's done inside the building, that's easy. But if it's outside, we've got weather issues, hot and cold. And naloxone is responsive to hot and cold. It alters its capabilities. And so we got to find a solution for that. But we do know in some places they do have it outside. So it's just a challenge at this point. It's not a no, it's a challenge. Transportation for treatment. We have people from Alcona County who are going to Gaylord every day or maybe 3 times a week. That costs a lot of money. DHHS is paying for some of that, and it's expensive. You can imagine having a properly trained driver drive all the way over, wait for the person to have their treatment, and then bring them back. It's expensive. We have some, a few other things that we are also discussing, but we're not ready to bring them up at this time, but, we kind of, I have talked to each of you individually, but, we're kind of, as a committee, we functioned, we had 9 people at our meeting yesterday, and we looked, all 9 have a voice. It is not Bill and I throw the ideas out, we help focus the, discussions, but the decision, because I couldn't tell you what would be good for somebody who's got a drug problem. I'm not, I can't, I'm glad I can, but I can't. And so these people, drug court and so on, DHHS, those people are the ones that know what the needs are, and we listen to their voices. And then, Bill, anything further that we need to?
No, you said quite a bit.
Well, that's stupid.
No, you said everything that we discussed, and the 2 topics that we are pushing first is the assessments that's to move the people into the drug court as quickly as possible. It's taking up to 3 months sometimes to get an individual just into it. That was the first priority one, and the fund to extend it. It's primarily for Alcona County residents, but it is, you run out of money for these days, and this would help that it would be a set amount of money set put into an account that they could be drawn from.
I will tell you that Sunrise has its own scholarship fund for anybody within the region. Ours would be focused on Alcona residents.
So you can develop something, or you already have like a
They
policy,
have.
they have a policy,
They have,
how you're gonna. We have to approve this as a board?
that is another question that's there.
We brought it to you to basically be aware of what the committee was doing.
You don't
It
have
is-
to approve the expansion.
Well, it's money that's coming to the county,
Yeah.
and you guys are basically ultimately responsible for the disbursement of it, so I would have said,
As indicated early on, Bill and I thought this first year, and with what we knew and what we had planned and so on, we kind of set not doing more than 50% of the first, what we have for the first year. And we're looking at that $55,000. These 2, we are looking at probably $3,000 to $4,000 on the scholarship, and indicated about 18,000 and that's a full year cost probably. But what we would ask for today is authorization to spend up to 50% of what we have in the bank or in the account, actually, it's in Fund 284, during the first 6 months or so. And since we really were supposed to be getting this back in the fall, except Ottawa County, as you all know, decided they wanted to rock the boat. But at this time, we would ask for,
So then if we do that, but then as you begin to expend funds, or you develop this project, you bring that in and say, okay, show us what the plan is.
I'm not sure that I can see, although we have pretty much reported every meeting to you that we've had with this group. I think meetings may become rather routine, and that's why, one of the things that we talked about, but kind of lost momentum yesterday, and that was a flyer that, there's amazingly mixed feelings on that.
but as projects come up and are picked to be
Yeah,
moved forward, it should come to you guys as, these are the next 2
and if
projects.
you're doing something that's gonna have a lifetime to it.
Right.
We should have a policy to, like, if we're gonna offer a scholarship on over a
Well,
5-year period.
no, it's an annual.
Oh, I see.
If none of the money is spent, it stays with us. They'll have to request up to X dollars.
just a piece of paper that says, this is how we're gonna disperse this program of our opioid monies. You know, we're gonna, or maybe even put a,
We'd like to have you guys have some understanding of what we're trying to do.
yeah.
So,
I'll make a motion to allow the opioid committee to expend up to 50% of their current. It's not budgeted, right? Oh, you have it already? 50% of the 55,897. For programs. Approved by their committee.
I'll support. I would ask our treasurer if she has any comments or observations or anything, since she's the ultimate one.
I don't think so. We have a separate bank account set up for this. It's being completed right now. That was approved when you approved the fund.
I think it'd be good for you too, though, right, to have a piece of paper or whatever money goes out under what.
Oh, absolutely.
What it's going out for. If they're in a scholarship program, if they're in a bridging program, or
These are handwritten checks and they'll be entered into the general ledger manually. So it is totally separate account. So there would be just the same requirements as any other expenditure to have the invoice and any other pertinent information follow through.
we're not gonna get 50,000 a year, right? Every year.
Yeah, no, there may be another year that we get 55. But it's
In 3 years, we're not won't get any more, or is it like,
you
you said 14.
You will presume, no, you will presumably be getting money through, up to and through 2040.
It could be 55,000 on occasion.
Yeah, well, could be.
Well,
When you're 55, you have to come in. Court allows advisor or somebody to pay more than an annualized amount. They're trying to get out from underneath it.
I see.
They might allow it. They did allow, and I can't tell you off the top of my head, but 2 or 3 companies to pay for the first 5 years. But we didn't expect they were going, we thought they were going to just pay for a year.
I think the first time was only like $18,000. It was just a double digit that we were going to receive for 2023. And all of a sudden we got $50,000.
I would just envision if we have, so if we have, you guys develop 3 different programs, 4 different programs. I'd like to see them itemized out, so we knew what we spent on each one,
Oh, yes,
and each one has its own policy, each one has its own, whatever, you know, its own life.
Because their life is only as long as the funds.
Right, right.
As long as the program is ongoing and there will be, when there's a new project that comes up, we can separate that out into the in the general
Yeah.
fund, being noted as
Noted
what
as
that
a-
project. was.
Yeah.
That would be
Good for that.
easier for tracking.
Yeah.
Like ARPA.
Yeah, that's the ARPA fund, yeah, you got it there. I just made it in second and we'll discuss it.
Any more discussion? Okay, roll call.
Brady,
Yes.
Johnston,
Yes.
Brumman,
yes.
Small.
Yes.
And again, thank you. And again, I want to mention how very helpful it is to have Bill working with me on. I really appreciate it.
All right, next I'll make a motion to approve the chair to authorize to sign. The equalization report.
So,
Moved to seconded, any comment? Hearing none, all those in favor?
All right.
All opposed, motion carries. I'll make a motion to authorize signature of the MOA with Alcona Schools upon approval of the review by legal. I'm trying to say,
Council.
yeah, legal counsel.
Second.
Move to seconded. Any discussion? That's a roll call.
Brumman,
yes.
Small,
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Johnston,
Yes.
And I also make a motion to approve the agreement between Sheriff Stevenson and the City of Harrisville
for, lease protection. Or. Supported. Any comment, questions? Roll call.
Small,
Yes.
Brumman,
No,
Brady,
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes. Okay. Next up, finance report.
if I'm over getting those cleaned up, do we need a motion for the special pay?
I don't think we're there yet. I want to put that agenda for the first, meeting of
We have
May.
enough time.
Yeah, because she's not, that's our last chance to do it, but yeah,
Okay.
I just afraid, I don't want to.
All right, I don't disagree.
We'll have a lot of work, no time to, that's. Finance report, I've been really busy over the last couple of weeks. So we haven't had a finance meeting officially for that time. So if there's any monies or anything moving around, I would defer to the treasurer. They need to talk about the day for that. Okay, excellent. And that's it for finance. Moving on personnel.
Oh, thank you. Just so we talked about the personnel thing, the
Yeah.
retirement, and that was talked and went through. You don't see any problems with it as of this time, but sure, if we're waiting to reaching out a little bit more. That's all.
Okay, treasurer report then.
Oh, good. We have had two mini township treasurer meetings, the last one, the equalization and the clerk's office came to, and we had some assessors come to that one as well. There is the equalization and the clerk are going to be setting up a meeting for their portion of the, and the registered was a guest speaker at that meeting, which was really cool. She informed a lot of people that how all four of the offices work together, even though it's the treasurers, so they have a knowledge of what the process is for everything, for the millage rates, for the deeds, the addressing, and the delinquent, the whole entire tax process. So it was quite informative for a lot of people, and I think it was a good turn. We had a good turnout and a positive response from everybody. Moving forward, we have a kind of a wrap up and on the 11th of April. And that's just gonna be the township treasurers, and we have our online payment program representative coming to do a presentation and hopefully get the remaining townships that are not accepting credit cards as form of payment to jump on board and allow that service for their taxpayers, which has been a very huge convenience for the people who do not live in town or do not have. It's just another option for people to pay their taxes, and it's been a very convenient. They can do it online, on the phone. There's a lot of options. Unfortunately, there is a fee that's associated with it, like with everything else. We don't collect that fee, but the credit card company processing does. But it has been a huge convenience to those that need it in the last minute. They forgot to pay their taxes. Or have an issue and live out of town or are out of state for winter or whatever. So they'll be there to get that, and hopefully we'll get a few more on board collecting through credit cards. We did, the deadline for foreclosure is passed. We foreclosed on 13 properties. We are in the process of doing the research on that, and I'll have more information for you at the next meeting. But in the meantime, there was a land bank, the second tranche for $200,000 per county came through. There was a meeting last week. It was the land bank associate that was that works with our region, myself and one other person from Hubbard Lake. That was on that conference call. I had sent that out to all the commissioners and all the township supervisors to remind them about that in the meeting. And we were the 3 that were in attendance, and there's a lot of good information. So if anyone's interested, they can contact her directly. I sent the link so everyone has the contact information. Back to the treasurers. We do have a BSNA tax training on, I believe it's 26th or the 28th of May. 26th. So just before the holiday weekend, to start everybody's weekend off, right? We have a training with BSNA for the treasurers for preparation for the tax roll setup. And so that's kind of exciting. And ARPA, we have, I sent you all a little packet of information for the status on where we are. We have committed the majority of the ARPA funding that we got, that we had received. It was $2,021.49. There's approximately $68,000 of uncommitted funds at this time for projects. We have not had a meeting this year. And there are a few things that we need to discuss. So I would ask that I have spoken to Commissioner Yachts. And when he gets back from back to town, Carolyn, I believe you're on, and we'll get everybody together because we have a few things that need to be discussed. And then we can report back to the board on that.
We haven't. I haven't on my desk, he and I set a tentative date.
Oh, good. Well, we have a few people that we need to let know.
It's the last week in April. I haven't, and I will let
Good to know.
everybody know.
So this one, this page.
Yes.
Hold my staple.
Don't pull your
So
staple.
you said there's a balance of 68,000?
Approximately 68,000 left uncommitted for projects.
So that doesn't
Correct.
show up on here?
No, it does not. I gave you the wrong spreadsheet.
Okay. Okay.
I will definitely update you after the meeting, because there's a few adjustments that need to happen. Everything else is committed. It's not necessarily spent, and that number will be fluid because the projects weren't not exactly what they were. Like the kiosk number 1, I was told that was never completed, so there are still things that are outstanding for those projects. I don't have confirmation on a few other things. The water sewer, there were some parking lot issues that needed to be handled. And I don't know if that's been done yet. And there's still money left for those funds. The sheriff just got done explaining the dash cam project that he was working on and getting grants and Homeland Security money for. Well, you had approved 42,461, and at this time it sounds like you may not need that much. So this is kind of a fluid thing that's going to be going back and forth. Also, there is a few other things that have remaining balances. So that number is tentative, and there will be an increase to the amount of things that we have. So I would just like to see the ARPA committee get together and go through that in a little more detail. But I had also given you all the expenditures for this reporting period, which is due by the 31st of April. I went to the website to upload the information and it was unavailable. So I'm waiting on finding out when we can get that uploaded. So for 2022. And that is all I have. Does anyone have any questions? And the auditors are here if you didn't know.
I'm going okay.
Everything's going just swimmingly.
I thought you said everything's going.
It's going.
And she smiles. All right, thanks, Lester. Next up, quick support.
The first thing before I forget is this resolution, even though you guys approved the ME contract. They still need it by resolution, the state's requiring it, so there's gonna be, I'll need a motion for another resolution, I could.
Point the medical examiner, right? Is that what we were doing?
Correct, yes, and the chief deputy medical examiner as well. And like Cheryl said, the auditors are here, our jury trial pled, so they were gone, jurors all gone by the time auditors got here. That worked out good. Also, in working with Carolyn in the opioid reporting, you have to report, I think it was every 6 months. Anyways, that's done and taken care of, so everything that's needed there is up to date. Everything on that opioid thing also, I have right here in this stat. Where these flags are all at are the, that was the application for the new, for all the new companies. Carolyn took care of that. That's been uploaded. Now we'll just have to upload that resolution that's required by them as well. And I did get the amount, sorry, it was in this packet, not in your packet. But the amounts, and it was close, it was 166,000. But again, like Carolyn said, those amounts are gonna be over 10 to 15 years, dependable upon how, who pays and how they pay. So I think that's gonna fluctuate from year to year, so that's.
And a couple more filing bankruptcy too, so that may affect things.
And then Cheryl also mentioned equalization, and myself will be having like a training, because I have to be trained as well on these L4029s for the townships. So the clerks are really responsible to know this, but most work well when they work with their treasurers to come up with these tax amounts for their millages and learn all this rollback stuff. So I'll be learning hands-on right along next to them as well. Also in your package, you'll see there was a library contract. They were able to make an agreement with Curtis Township, so they came up with something that works for all of them. And I think that's all I have.
You need a motion for the medical examiner resolution.
Support.
Supported. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Brady,
Yes.
Johnston,
Yes.
Brumman,
Yes,
Small,
Yes. All right, there's communications in your packet, cruise at your leisure. Weather reports, Terry.
District Health, attended their meeting, and I will. Don't go that much report from, other than they're cruising along. That's it.
Guston Township is going to be, getting with NEMCOG to help develop paperwork for solar. They have their solar ordinance, but they couple to develop the paperwork for implementing the, what needs to be given back and forth to the providers and everything else. Any of your companies want to jump on the bandwagon and contact me. Then maybe we can make it a big. Everybody put their hand in the pot deal. That's why I haven't set it up yet, but gonna be within the next couple weeks here. So you guys are interested in that. Getting them in touch with me. I think I'm gonna do it through the MTA also, I don't know what's happening, but that's all I have.
Veterans Board, on the Veterans Project, we have not heard anything from Eagle. Or as I know, we're still in the process of getting ready to do the phase 2 BSA report. We have a meeting with them, went well. Anything else that happened to me this week? Been a while, been 3 weeks.
Okay.
routine things, 211s on our second one. One thing, we are still, well, maybe we're done now. I haven't heard for 36 hours on the CDBG grant money that they wanted some final paperwork, and it's been sent. No news is good news.
All right. We have our last public comment opportunity here, 5 minutes per person.
One more.
Bill.
Bill Thompson, Harrisville. County Fair has the raffle tickets out now. It's the same as we had last year. It's $5 a ticket. First prize is $1,500, second prize is $500, and then 3rd through 7th prize will be $200 each. And you don't have to be present to win. It'll be drawn at the end of the fair. So it's another way of funding the fair for us. Other than that, most of it's going pretty good. We've got some singers lined up, and then Friday, instead of just a demolition, we're doing a drag racing with side by sides and lawnmowers, and then we'll have a small demolition for the end. Of course, the normal bump and run on Saturday. So things are moving forward on the fair.
Okay, anybody else? Nobody here, how about online? Doesn't look like it, all right, then we'll adjourn until the next meeting at April 19th. Thank you.